Welcome to Shameless. Here we explore the transformative power of courage and action.
Thank you for joining us today. If you've enjoyed our conversations and you want to have more insightful discussions and hear from other incredible guests, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us to grow and continue bringing this amazing content. Thanks for joining in and enjoy today's episode of Shameless Podcast. Now, I stand here and I wonder, when you say self-taught, please explain to me what that journey looked like, because from self-taught to becoming multi-award winning, what is that journey? Where did it start? Where did it originate? And then how did you teach yourself?
I think my journey began when I think my earliest interaction with technology was when back in the day I was in high school. You know, they had the old Nokia phone, they had a game called Bounce, Nokia phones, and I was so right? I was so curious on how do people make these games? How does someone actually put together whatever they put together to make this game? I did a lot of research on it, and I figured out that they had to use something called J2ME, and a lot of coding was involved, and I had no idea what that was. And I had some time when I was away from school for about a week or so, and I was just at home by myself, and TV and watching Old Mutual and Liberty Life adverts is not the best way for a young teenager to spend the time at home. So I spent a lot of time on my dad's laptop just Googling how coding works and how software works. And I think I was about 16 at this time. And my sister actually saw that I got a very big keen curiosity about technology, and she bought me this giant book about Java. And I read the first 2 pages. I was like, nah, this is not it. So I did something. This is about what I'm learning at all. So I spent a couple of months just doing simpler coding languages like HTML, just studying how they work and etc. And by the time when I went back to that book, I could understand everything. Everything made so much sense. And from there I just started it was a catalyst for me getting into the technology space, and I just started growing and expanding my knowledge in different coding languages at that time. And when I finally went back to school, I couldn't see anyone. Break time after school, I was spending in computer lab, where just see a computer, I just spend my time there instead of hanging out with friends. So that was my first interaction with technology. And then went on to finish high school. After finishing high school, I couldn't go to university for a number of reasons, but I tried to get a job in technology, and I couldn't get in. I was lucky enough to have found someone who gave me a test, and based on that, they gave me a test and gave me an hour to complete that task by coding and fixing a bug. And I did it in about 10 minutes. And she was like, "Dope, you hired on the spot." So that was my first interaction with the business world and working space and working with people. I worked there for about 6 months, and then moved to Zimbabwe. That's where I was doing a lot of my work in. And while I was there, it was very difficult to get a job, because if you don't have a degree, you can't prove to people ahead of time that I'm actually good enough to do what you've asked me to do, and no one would hire me for months at end.
Before you continue on that one, do we find, or have you found that is a very dangerous and probably outdated way to look at things? And I say this because when you look at Google as an example in this modern day and age, they're not looking for necessarily individuals with degrees or anything. Some people who've hacked some of the most secure spaces and companies are not necessarily people who've gone to school. So how has that essentially shaped the idea that some people, you have to prove yourself so much more? How's that shaped your journey, and how's that shaped the way that you look at and the things that you work on actually?
I think the idea that you need to have a document or a piece of paper that proves that you can do something is basically the reason why just dismantling that is basically the reason why my entire business and everything that I'm doing exists. Because I didn't have a degree, and I still don't have a degree. And for a long time, what I've done when I was younger is I took part in what I call hackathons, and I started winning every single hackathon one by one. And I was being Google and BlackBerry back when they were still a thing. They'll send me phones for winning the
BlackBerry. What's that? What's that?
What's BlackBerry? I've got a soft spot for BlackBerry. They used to send me phones and devices and t-shirts. Anytime they have a new phone, they just send me another one, because I used to win their hackathons, quite a bit. The same thing for Google. and etc. So I took part in those things. I used those as a way to prove that I am actually good enough at doing what I'm doing. So this was back, this was like probably like 12, 14 years ago, right? So I think a lot has changed now with Google removing the requirement for having a degree. But back in that time, you had to have a degree no matter what. It was a very difficult thing to circumvent. So I found my way around that. And I feel like what I'm doing right now, some people have called it, a war on credentialism. And I feel like, if the shoe fits, if it comes out that way, then maybe that's what it is. And I really strongly feel like, true to what you were saying about, communication and education, I really feel that a lot of applicants have a very hard time articulating their intelligence well. I think standardized testing is overdue for review, because more often than not, you can actually be intelligent, but the fight is proving and showing someone that holds the key to your success or your progress that you actually are intelligent. That's why you find a lot of people, scaling their academics and scaling their careers by looking smart and not actually being smart because they figured out the code. I don't know if you're familiar, there's something called Goodhart's Law. Basically, Goodhart's Law says that when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. So when you put a target in front of people to say, look, if you want to get to here, you have to take these boxes, it ceases to be a good enough measure to get people who are competent enough and not good enough to get to that stage. And I feel like that's what I'm very passionate about. In as much as people would say that I'm passionate about education, I think I'm passionate about dismantling this whole credentialism, culture that we have in society, where we say, like, you can be smart, but show me that you're smart by doing the standardized test and prove it to me.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share as we embark on our mission to impact 1 million African lives by 2026.
This podcast is brought to you by Transformation Leader. You can follow us at www.t4leader.com.